gas ourselves up, but we short on breath. Talking about we eating, but who we really cooking. Dreaming about greens, but ain't nobody looking. No land, no acres, no seeds in the ground. When the hunger hits, who's gonna be around? We starving every day, and it just ain't the food. Feeding the hood garbage, got 'em acting a fool. We flossing with rides, stunting with chains, but these bars we spitting just bring more pain. We guilty as hell, preaching all these lies, selling debt to the kids, and we acting surprised. We commercialize the pain, broadcast the grief, tell the youth to hustle, but hide the beef. We glorify the trap, invite them to the flames, just like Reagan brought the crack on planes. Back in the 80s when the streets got soaked, my people, my brothers, all got choked. Reagan said no trades, but we know the deal. He left us in the dirt, man, that shit was real. I was just a shorty watching it unfold, old enough to see how we got sold. War on drugs, but it was war on us. Cops on our necks, no love, no trust. They labeled us thugs, beast on the block, made us kiss the pavement while they cleaned our clock. Prison became business thanks to Reagan's game. Free labor is the truth in America's name. Slavery's dead, man. That's just a word. Read the 13th Amendment, it's still absurd. They lock us in cages, serving time for life. Double digits for wisdom, cutting sharp like a knife. I'm here to say, the chains in the air, it's time we break free, start showing we care. No more flexing for nothing, no more selling out. It's time to rise up, time to end the drought. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And this morning, I named this episode, Barriers Down and Trust Broken. But before we get into all that, I got Don Tripp, War Wounds, and we'll be right back right after this.
Yeah. Take a look at my eyes to see what I see. My life. Yeah. They say love is war. I hope everything I love is worth fighting for. I wake up and fight harder than I fought before. And if I fail, then I still ain't never falling short. Baby, my block was hot enough for me to light a torch. Only 14, I was forced to hold down the fort. Trying not to do the same to my oldest boy. Mama can't afford to pay the bills, I had to pay them for. Daddy wasn't nowhere in sight, so I ain't have a choice. And I created broken homes, so I pay support. I should've known better, I was just living life. Turning 40, I'm just hoping I can get it right. I thought being a dad was a God-given right. According to juvenile court, you gon' have to fight. Fight for your right to be an equal parent. No matter what you do, they never gonna treat you fairly. They keep my kids from me, then they go online and say I don't spend time. Am I missing something? My daughter 13, boyfriend now. Mama told her it's okay, don't let your dad find out. Cause daddy don't approve, fuck what daddy talking about. If you don't like it, you ain't gotta go back to daddy's house. Now she in junior high school acting out. And it's all daddy's fault somehow. I don't get it. Shit's twisted. My other baby mama say my house is like a prison. I got too many rules, I don't let them miss school. And I don't let them fill their stomachs up on junk food. And I don't take them out to eat every day of the week. It don't matter how much money I make, that ain't cheap. And I don't ever post my babies on IG. You know you can't love your kids if the world can't see. If the world can't open your windows and take a peek. And they can't find none of your laundry in the streets. And you don't seem to care what other people perceive, then you might end up on the same wall as me. They hate me cause none of my dreams were make believe. They was taking shots, they should have been taking heed. Maybe all you gotta do is wish for greater things. I just can't afford to sit on my ass to wait and see. Long little pill.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Man, how's everybody this morning? I hope everybody's good. I hope everybody is. Today's Friday. Hope everybody's enjoying their start of your weekend, whatever it is. Um, I wanted to talk about a couple of things this morning, and a couple of them have to do with Minneapolis. Well, it's about Minnesota, period. Uh, and we have to, as people, not fall for propaganda. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that the barricades at 34th and Portland were brought down this morning. It started at about 3:20. Um, Before anybody was even thinking about protesting or thinking about doing whatever, they brought it down. So I'm going to play that first.
34th and Portland. Right now, Minneapolis city crews are clearing the street blocked by protesters since the shooting death of Renee Good. They say it's a major safety concern for people living in the area, delaying fire and EMS response times. You see a number of personnel there on scene. That crime scene tape is still up this morning, but it is set to be removed. Looks like they're removing some of those barricades as well there in the background. So this morning we also sent our photographer by the Whipple building where protesters got heated with federal officials yesterday, and no one was in that area.
So, of course, nobody is going to protest when nobody's around, but they did bring the barriers down. Now, that wasn't ICE or that wasn't federal authorities. That was Minneapolis. That was Jacob Frey. That was all 13 constituents are on the council. So why are we getting mad? That's why I call it selective outrage, because people pick and choose what they want to fight about. And this is what I'm talking about. And people I seen all day yesterday, people talking about George Floyd, number 2.0. And it's like, come on, really? Are y'all going to really fall for that? Because people weren't doing this for Ricky Cobb. And the same died the same way, driving off from law enforcement and was killed. Shot and killed. The same thing. Winston Smith. Uptown Minneapolis, same thing. There was some kind of federal task force. When are we actually going to stand up for something and don't yell just for at anything? That's what I don't understand. I don't understand. This is crazy as hell to me. And to see all of the things that are going on, and it's like, come on, we have to do better. Why? We have to do better as people. We have to do better. That's crazy. If we really honestly think about it, what are people angry about? That's what I really want to understand. What are people angry about? Because for me, this isn't about politics. This is about right and wrong, right versus wrong. Right versus wrong. Now, I had a whole conversation with my wife, Ashley, about this with the shooting, right? And there were similar situations. Law enforcement came up to her car. I told her, lock the doors, roll up the window, don't move, because these people will use any and everything to be able to shoot. I don't want you to give them any reason to shoot because you're in a vehicle. They're not. They're outside. That's the whole thing of like people do not understand is if you have people who have guns, are you going to drive off? Because personally for me, I'm not. If I see people with guns, I'm not driving off. Because what up, man? You know what I'm saying? I'm not driving off. I'm not. Because why am I going to put myself in a fucked up situation that is even going to get worse? Why? So if Renee was a legal observer, why are you driving off and people have guns? Why are you driving off? Why? That's what I don't understand. And then you see her wife in a hot mic and a hot video, then because nobody knew they were being filmed. heard her saying things, that it was her fault. She's the one that told her to do this. Because if you look at the whole scene, and it's the crazy thing, right? Because I know people say it's AI or it's this, it's that. Why can't the truth be the truth? Why? That's what I don't understand. And it's crazy as hell to me how people, because I said it, Candace Owens and Kanye West were right. White lives do matter. White lives matter. Let's be honest. Because Minneapolis wasn't in an uproar when Ricky Cobb died. So why are you in an outrage when a woman who was out being a legal observer and impeding federal officers? Because federal beat state. So what are y'all looking for? Are you looking for Mayor Frey and Walls to do something? Because those are the same people, even with the BCA, who has lied to us for years about Black Death. And now y'all want them to investigate. Get the fuck out of here, you hypocrites. Come on now. Come on. Like, I don't even get that shit. How are you asking it to go to the BCA to be an independent investigation? That's not independent. That's not. Because they're partisan. I don't give a fuck what anybody wants to say, man. It's partisan. They don't give us independent investigations. That shit is partisan. That is a DFL agency right now. Because who's the boss? The mayor, not the mayor, the governor. It's crazy. I just don't understand it. And then you have Minneapolis public schools cancel school today, tomorrow, or yesterday and today. And then they come out yesterday, Marsha Howard, that there's an option that they can do distant learning. Come on, man. Y'all already have one of the worst track records when it comes to kids reading, when it comes to kids writing, doing math, but y'all don't care about that because you want our kids to be dumb. And this is a perfect opportunity. They know that the feds will be in Minnesota for at least 30 days with these operations, right? Well, let's give the kids distant learning. And then, so if the kids don't want to come in, we can go out and protest. This is some crazy ass shit. Crazy, because you have to let people, because when George Floyd kicked off, we were in COVID. People were locked away in their homes and couldn't come out. Couldn't go to no fast food restaurant. Couldn't go to a fast food restaurant. I don't get it. And to be honest, what happened was white on white crime. If you really want to talk about it, it was white on white crime. The officer was white. The officer was white. The lady was white. I don't understand it. These people, and then the press conference this morning, I'll probably play some of the press conference because the shit's just, it's the same ass shit. The same ass shit. There's nothing different. Not a goddamn thing different. I want to get into this is about, there was an audit. Everybody knows that in the last couple of days, an audit has came out. Well, it's also came out that they fabricated paperwork. They either made it up or this is the shit that's crazy. And why do we go for this? Why isn't this? We're listening to people get up here, Democrats, get up here and lie to us, get up here and gaslight us. Where's the transparency? Y'all talk about accountability, but we can't even get it out of our own leaders. So how are y'all expecting people that are above you to be able, well, we asked them if we can get into the investigation. Why? You guys have never wanted to cooperate with the feds. You've never, so why would they want to cooperate now? Come on, man, make it make sense. Why would the feds want to work with Minnesota when they won't even work with the feds for immigration? That's a really, really good question that nobody wants to answer, that nobody even wants to ask. Because when you look at this report, it's called Breaking News. I think I don't even know her name. But the shit that comes out of here, it's crazy. And people will bypass it because they're more mad because it's the feds and they can call them Nazis and Gestapos. And they know that's going to make them money. This is going to hurt them. If they see, this is why our media in Minnesota is so bad. Because everybody, Fox, I see Care 11, KSTP, everybody should be having this as their lead-off story. Because this is what matters to Minnesotans, that we're being screwed over. Not only did these motherfuckers lie to us about feeding kids, they lied to us about how we need to have all these programs for peer recovery specialists, and motherfuckers were scamming. Motherfuckers were scamming off of poor people that were either mentally ill, addicted to drugs. People took advantage of that shit. All the people, they weren't all Somalians. A lot of it was white people. You had Mayor Frey's wife. She worked for Momentum Advocacy, Nancy Hilden. And you know who runs that right now? Is a Republican who had an affair with another Republican. Come on, people. If y'all do not stop going for this shit, like I really can't believe it. And now I see why that I get into it with people, because they fall for anything, not something. They fall for anything. It's crazy.
Of the legislative auditor released a damning report finding state employees fabricating records to cover up mismanagement of money, tax money. It's another black eye for the State Department of Human Services. And Lou Raguse is covering it and sat down with the legislative auditor.
This was definitely the most egregious thing I have seen, maybe in my whole time working at OLA.
After 27 years with the Office of the Legislative Auditor, a statement like that from Judy Randall means something. After past suspicions, she says her most recent audit proved state workers were fabricating documents to cover up mismanagement of taxpayer money.
So these documents should exist. They didn't. We asked for them. All of a sudden, they now exist. And in at least one case, it was created wholesale and backdated by 2 years to give the impression that it had always been there and been done on time.
The OLA audited the Behavioral Health Administration within the Department of Human Services, which issues grants, nearly $200 million of taxpayer money each year, to addiction and mental health service providers. But the audit found BHA was not making sure those providers were doing the work.
BHA didn't conduct the site visits. Our auditors went and conducted the site visits that BHA should have done. And we identified serious concerns that services weren't being provided.
One of the grants examined by OLA was $1.6 million issued to the Wellness Collaborative through Zion Baptist Church in North Minneapolis. According to the OLA report, BHA didn't have documentation to give auditors to show that the services were rendered. What's more, the audit says the grant manager directly
Wow. So nobody's going to talk about Brian Herron. Brian Herron, the city council member that went to the feds, who was incarcerated for taking bribes from I think his name was Sabari, whatever. There was this, so it's never changed. Why aren't y'all getting more matter about this? Why aren't we having press conferences about this? Why aren't we having this is crazy. Y'all niggas fall for anything, these DFL niggas. This is why I don't like Eliza Darris. This is why I don't like Tashir Garraway. This is why I don't like Cortez Rice, fraud, scamming ass, Nakima, Michelle Gross, because it's never been about the truth. It's always been what we can make these people on the streets believe. It's never been about the truth.
By leaving BHA and months later providing consulting services to the Wellness Collaborative for the grant she managed, which Randall says is not illegal.
But I think it raises a bunch of ethical questions at the very least.
Representatives at Zion strongly dispute what BHA and DHS told the auditors. They tell KARE 11 DHS sought them out for the grant. They provided services which DHS workers witnessed. They gave DHS documentation, and they say now they believe they're being scapegoated. The former grant manager told KARE 11 any wrongdoing falls squarely on DHS.
Conduct a monitoring visit to make sure the services are actually being provided. These aren't rocket science types of things.
Randall says the audit found fewer than 1 in 5 DHS workers they surveyed felt adequately trained to scrutinize how the grant money is spent. And perhaps most frustrating, this was the second audit of the Behavioral Health Administration, and many of the problems found were repeat problems.
What is it like to see these problems, make these recommendations, and nothing is done to fix it?
It's exhausting.
Wow.
It's exhausting.
I'm going to start this over, right? Because I don't think people are fully getting this, right? Zion has been accused of fraud. And now Zion is putting it on DHS.
This week, the Office of the Legislative Auditor released a damning report finding state employees fabricating records to cover up mismanagement of money, tax money. It's another black eye for the State Department of Human Services, and Lou Raguse is covering it and sat down with the legislative auditor.
This was definitely the most egregious thing I have seen. Maybe in my whole time working at OLA.
After 27 years with the Office of the Legislative Auditor, a statement like that from Judy Randall means something. After past suspicions, she says her most recent audit proved state workers were fabricating documents to cover up mismanagement of taxpayer money.
So these documents should exist. They didn't. We asked for them. All of a sudden, they now exist. And in at least one case, it was created wholesale and backdated by 2 years to give the impression that it had always been there and been done on time.
The OLA audited the Behavioral Health Administration within the Department of Human Services, which issues grants, nearly $200 million of taxpayer money each year, to addiction and mental health service providers. But the audit found BHA was not making sure those providers were doing the work.
BHA didn't conduct the site visits. Our auditors went and conducted the site visits that BHA should have done, and we identified serious concerns that services weren't being provided.
One of the grants examined by OLA was $1.6 million issued to the Wellness Collaborative through Zion Baptist Church in North Minneapolis. According to the OLA report, BHA didn't have documentation to give auditors to show that the services were rendered. What's more, the audit says the grant manager directly profited by leaving BHA and months later providing consulting services to the Wellness Collaborative for the grant she managed, which Randall says is not illegal.
But I think it raises a bunch of ethical questions at the very least.
Representatives at Zion strongly dispute what BHA and DHS told the auditors. They tell KARE 11 DHS sought them out for the grant. They provided services which DHS workers witnessed. They gave DHS documentation, and they say now they believe they're being scapegoated. The former grant manager told KARE 11 any wrongdoing falls squarely on DHS.
Conduct a monitoring visit to make sure the services are actually being provided. These aren't rocket science types of things.
Randall says the audit found fewer than 1 in 5 DHS workers they surveyed felt adequately trained to scrutinize how the grant money is spent. And perhaps most frustrating, this was the second audit of the Behavioral Health Administration, and many of the problems found were repeat problems.
What is it like to...
I want to stop it there for a minute, right? Because I know, but I've been said this about Zion, right? Zion has sit here and done contracts with people that weren't getting paid, right? And I want to read a comment. It didn't come up on, I don't know why it didn't come up on my thing, but it came up in here, right? And Angela says that Brian Herron's church, Nikema and her husband are members. Yes, that the bishop, the deacon, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is Nikema's husband. Is Nikema's husband. This isn't new. Why aren't people getting upset? Y'all are letting her go up here and talk for our community, but not accountability. Not accountability about their killer ass sons. The same thing with Jerry McAfee. Like, come on, y'all. If y'all don't stop, this is why I'm really distant. This is why I really don't fuck with a lot of people in Minneapolis, because they stand for anything, not for something. And a lot of people are paid. They're paid. All these people that they're putting in front of us have contracts. I don't know how much Lisa Clemens has been doing, because her and Elle have me blocked, but I'm sure they're doing shit. The same thing with Jerry, even though he's taking a sabbatical. I'll bet you they're still doing shit because they have contracts, not only with the city, but with the state. That's what people fail to realize. And the same thing even goes for Hennepin County, because we can talk about Clarence Hightower in the CCAP. I think that's what it's called, through Hennepin County. I know it's something, but they were supposed to be helping people with rent. That doesn't happen. The same thing, I still see VJ making posts, because this is the crazy thing. You can move a motherfucker, but that just because you move them doesn't mean that the problems that they left they're still here. You can move, just because you can move a motherfucker out of the community, the problems are still there, because we don't like accountability. And people short of fuck don't like being responsible. And I'm going to say another thing, because Mark Karen said a few weeks ago on Don Allen's show that the same people who were in leadership at MDE over Feeding Our Future now work at the Office of Cannabis Management. So now we see why the people who were up and running their weed, now we know why. Now we know why there is dope roots. Like, y'all, this is fucking crazy to me how y'all have been so blind. Especially a lot of people have been blind in Minneapolis. When it comes to the socialists, when it comes to the DFL members, people have screwed you over. Didn't matter if it came to Mayor Jacob Fry, because he had Andy Luger. He had Sarah Clark, his wife. She was the lawyer. She was the fucking lawyer for Feeding Our Future, and Amy Bach. She was the one that went up to the state, to Walls, Keith Ellison, and said, hey, we're going to make it really noisy about racism if y'all don't give us this fucking money. What did they do? Because they didn't want to be called racist. They didn't want to be called Islamophobic, when it has nothing to do about that. The truth is the truth. The truth is the truth.
See these problems, make these recommendations, and nothing is done to fix it.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Governor Tim Walz's office says they're grateful for the auditor for her work and for identifying these serious issues. And Democratic Senator Melissa Wickland, who chairs the Health and Human Services Committee, says that it's clear that DHS has not taken actions to fix these problems as they had portrayed to the senator.
Okay, so it's the second failed audit, and that's what we're getting from Democratic leadership. Is there going to be accountability this time?
Well, the DHS temporary commissioner, Shireen Gandhi, says that she was shocked, especially by those allegations of the records being created to cover it up. She says that they are in the process of, since the audit was performed, fixing some of the things that still hadn't been fixed. I think there's going to be a lot of questions from legislators for oversight to make sure that it actually happens this time around.
Right, and then what the organizational structure needs to be within DHS to make sure this stops. Because again, you're saying this is the second time and you've reported on so much fraud, and usually it all kind of comes back to DHS.
And besides just the oversight and the management in DHS, one thing that Judy Randall told me is that it seemed that the employees that were tasked with oversight of the grants were more on the side of they wanted to provide the services and provide the help. They didn't have that mindset or the training to double check the work to make sure it's being done and basically audit it the way that the auditors audit it.
All right, thanks so much.
I know Minneapolis people should be in a fucking uproar, but of course they're not. That's the one thing that I will never understand, man. It's like in Minneapolis, how do y'all get mad about, I won't call it stupid, but if we would have changed laws, policies in the past, instead of making it seem like it was all good. I really do believe that we could have been, this wouldn't have happened. We could have actually made a difference, and we didn't, because clout chasing was more important, and money, not change, not reform, but so they could fatten their pockets. Now I see why Nikema got rid of her house. Well, she was renting it anyways and then bought over. That's the whole thing that I will never understand. Public information is a motherfucker. And people don't believe it. These people got rich off the blood, sweat, and tears of the Black community. And people don't even get in the uproar. Y'all, you know what's crazy? Everybody want to get mad at ICE. But all these Black leaders in Minneapolis and Minnesota have been doing y'all wrong, but y'all want to get mad at Trump. Why aren't we getting mad at Mayor Jacob Fry? Why aren't we getting mad at Nikema? This the lady that, I'm going to see if I can find that video real quick. Because she literally, in the first meeting of the year on Minneapolis, came in a fucking Cybertruck. Came in a Cybertruck. That's what these people sit here and flaunt it in front of our faces, bro. And there ain't nothing. This is the crazy thing. Most people don't even say shit. Most people don't even say shit. Okay, I know she be posting a lot, so I know it's up here though. She's, yep. Hold on.
Right there,
she came in a fucking Cybertruck.
Knock on that door right there, knock on that door right there, knock on that door right there,
wow.
Knock on that door right there, knock on that door right there,
motherfuckers been getting money off our pain, our trauma for years. And people don't do shit. People don't do shit. They tell you who they are in public, and y'all still don't believe them. You still don't believe them. They tell you who they are, and you still don't believe it because you got blinders on. Because a lot of people want change. I get it. I was one of those. I was one of those people. I was one of those that got off the couch when I seen the George Floyd video. That's what changed my life. For the better. That's what changed my life. I don't know what others did. I know some people are out there protesting just to be protesting. They don't even know what they were doing. And I get it, right? And I understand it. But let's be real and honest with ourselves. Can we really look in the mirror and say that we did enough, that we're doing enough to make change? Because I know there's a lot of motherfuckers that cannot look in the mirror. They can't. Because they're still, I will tell you this, that Minnesota is so fucked up when it comes to these so-called leaders. We have meth heads. We have people that took walks around the country and were snorting cocaine off of chicks' booties. They were frauding the government. They say they were fighting for the people, but they were being fraudulent themselves. They were doing unemployment from other states, California. I say that because it was easy. The same thing with Minnesota. PPP loans. And that wasn't just Democrats. That was Republicans as well. You have Ron Krusha who lied. And of course, he's blaming it on other people. When you're a legislator, this is the world that we live in, is that these people can never look in them. The same thing with Trump. I'm not a Trumper. I didn't vote for that nigga. I voted for Andy Williams. Andy Williams, who was not on the ballot. I wrote his name in there. And his vice president, her name was Rita. So, like, seriously, I know people say, well, really your vote was for Trump. No, it wasn't. I believed in it. The whole reason about Andy is because this is a man that even though Andy is from Illinois, and he's running right now to be attorney general, I believe it is, or state attorney, whatever same thing like what Keith Ellison does here, attorney general, I think it is. And the reason why I believe in this man so much so much is because he's walked in a lot of black people's shoes. He's been a gangbanger. He's been to prison. And this is the one thing that I really get frustrated at people, right? Is people who have been shitted on by the system, they don't want to beat the system, they join it. Eliza Darris, and the dude who does don't shoot guns, shoot hoops. All these niggas have been paid to make trauma of our pain. All these niggas are paid. It's not about doing better for the community. It's about how they can change their pockets, how they can change their bank accounts. Because a lot of these niggas wouldn't be doing this shit if they had to do it for free. To do it for free, they wouldn't. I'm just being honest. These people would not have worked for free. For real. There would be nobody literally calling themselves an activist if we had to do it for free. I do it for free. I call people out. I call out drug dealers. If people want to know why I don't talk to my family, since people want to put that out there and post or whatever, I'm going to talk about the reason why I don't talk to my family is because my sister's one of her baby daddies snitched on my brother. That's our brother, right? That to me, that's foul. And then they stopped talking to me because I was calling out fentanyl dealers. Because I was calling out fentanyl dealers. And then people were getting out. They can't do that. They didn't do that. Are you with these niggas 24/7? No, the fuck you're not. When I have photographic evidence that a nigga was out here selling fentanyl in our community, and y'all want to tell me, no, that wasn't him. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. And I mean that. Shut the fuck up. Because you are living in a fucking bubble. These people live in a bubble. That's why I don't really talk to my mom and them. Because they want to keep on okay with the wrong. They want to keep on with the wrong. You want to know why my mom's not a peer recovery specialist anymore? Because when her employer was telling her, and they're in court right now. They've been sued. They've been not sued, charged. The one dude, I forget the name of it, but the management were sending out shit. They can do this, they can do that. My mom, being the Christian that she was, she went with it for a little while, but her conscience got the best of her. Whether she wants to admit it or not, the conscience got the better of her because she knew that it was wrong. At the end of the day, she knew that it was wrong, so she quit. Why can't people keep on doing that? She didn't call it out. She was still silent about it. But that's what you're not going to bite the hand that feeds you. You're not. So when people come up here and be like, oh, crying because they're not being paid because there's a 90-day hold on certain shit and then there's a 30-day hold on others. Which there should be, because a lot of motherfuckers were being silent while being complicit. They were accomplices. They were accomplices because they sat there being silent. So why don't we? I don't understand that. Because you reap what you sow. The Bible says an eye for an eye. Niggas was doing fraud. And because our system wasn't enough guardrails, not enough oversight, they took advantage because they know politics. They know how all this shit works. And a lot of people, they weren't listening to them because they were lying. They weren't listening to people because they were told not to listen to those messengers. It wasn't about the message. They didn't like the messenger. And that's what people don't ever want to talk about in Minneapolis. And that's sad to see because Minneapolis still has the same corruption that it had in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. A lot of it they just do in your faces. And because they tell you that it's right,
You believe it. But does it, because they say that it's right, is it right? Yeah.
Strikes, there is one word that summarizes what is most important, and that word is integrity. This is not the time to bend the rules. This is a time to follow the law. This is not a time to hide from the facts. This is a time to embrace them, making sure that we're pushing for transparency every step of the way. The fact that Pam Bondi's Department of Justice and this presidential administration has already come to a conclusion about those facts is deeply concerning. The facts that from the very beginning they're calling the victim a domestic terrorist, they're calling the actions of the agent involved as some form of defensive posture. We know that they've already determined much of the investigation, and even if they haven't, there is the appearance that there is some conclusion drawn from the very beginning. If not hide from the facts, why not embrace them?
I deposited $400,000 from my life insurance policy into my checking account, and
If it's not a problem to have additional people at the table that have a deep commitment to the process and transparency and have run these investigations before, then why not include them in the process? The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension at the state of Minnesota has consistently run these investigations before. They have done so without bias. They have done so with a great deal of expertise. This is not some radical, way out there group. This is a group that is formed by experts who understand how to investigate. Many of them have been police officers themselves. So our ask is really simple here. Our ask is to embrace the truth. Our ask is to include the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension in this process because we in Minneapolis want a fair investigation. Is it deeply concerning that this administration from the very get-go is drawing the conclusion that they may ultimately come to? Of course it is. And if you got nothing to hide from, then don't hide from it. Include local experts in the process. We got nothing to hide from here. All we want in Minneapolis is justice and the truth. And speaking of the truth, let me give you another one. I have heard countless people talk about Minneapolis, many of them who have never been here, as some form of post-apocalyptic hellscape, as a place that is dangerous. Well, let me give you a statistic. 50% of the shootings that have happened thus far in Minneapolis this year have been ICE. In other words, we've only had 2 shootings. One of them has been ICE. We are a safe city. ICE is making it less so. We are a city of unity, but ICE is trying to divide us and tear us apart. For every one of the people that you see standing here behind me, they have more than 1,000 people behind them. They have people that are committed to their neighbors, committed to integrity, committed to justice, and committed to getting the truth. We will not back down from it. That's right. Among those that won't back down from it is the person who I'm about to introduce. His ward is right on the borderline of where this particular shooting happened, and that is Councilmember Jason Chavez. Would you please give him a warm round of applause?
Good morning. My name is Jason Chavez, and I have the privilege of representing Ward 9 on the Minneapolis City Council, where ICE murdered Renee Good. I want to let you all know that our entire community is mourning because of the inhumane tactics of ICE separating our families, forcing people back into the shadows, and the pure brutality by Immigration's Customs Enforcement. The videos that we have all seen, yourself included, does not match the false narrative from the federal government. In fact, you could hear the words, "I am pulling out," moments before ICE decided to take the life of Renee Good. She was a mother, a wife, and a beloved community member, not a domestic terrorist. I'm calling on Trump's FBI to allow the Minnesota BCA to have access to all the information so an independent investigation can occur. It is important and critical to our community to have a sense of trust in this process by having an independent investigation to present to the county attorney so that adequate charges can be made. But most importantly, I am here on behalf of my entire community, echoing the calls to arrest, to prosecute and fire this ICE agent who murdered Renee Good, and to hold those accountable complicit in this crime. What has descended upon Minneapolis and in this state is not the American dream. It is not what the American dream is about. Our immigrant neighbors are here to work. They're here to provide for their family and to achieve prosperity. Instead, what we are seeing in Minneapolis and across this state is ICE kidnapping our family, following folks driving to work and kidnapping them, following people as they're heading to...
I'm going to stop it right there, right? It's came out that Renee, I'm going to say this. It was a sad tragedy. It was a sad fucking tragedy, right? But we have to be real here. We have to tell the truth, not some narrative to get people angered or in an uproar, but the truth, right? So we now know that Good was Minneapolis. So she did live in Minneapolis. She dad just moved there last year. I'm guessing it was last month because they haven't even changed the plate yet, because it did come back to Missouri, Kansas City, right? They also, the wife was a part of a group called Ice Watch, right? They told sources that this group is organized to monitor, track, interfere, and oppose ongoing federal immigration enforcement operations. Before the shooting, Good had followed the agents around and used her car to block the roadway, interfering with ongoing investigations. Now, I get it. Probably did drop off her kid. Not at no fucking 10:30. What school starts that late? I don't know any schools that start that late. So how long was it that you were following DS? I get it. You dropped your son, your child off at school. How long were you interfering with federal immigration operations? We all know that there's operations going on. They have a website. I'm going to listen to more Jason Chavez, but I'm going to show you the website too. But it's crazy that we're not standing up for something. We're standing up for anything. I'm going to say it once again. We're not standing up for something. These people are standing up for anything.
School or to the daycare, picking up our immigrant neighbors from bus stops. While neighbors are struggling to afford groceries, they're picking them there as well. I've personally been on the streets since this first happened, and I've seen too many ICE agents kidnap our neighbors from their cars. And to that, we're always going to condemn it.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 40.
And as we continue to ask for justice for Renee Good, we're going to ask our community members to stay on alert. As a proud son of Mexican immigrants, I ask Minneapolis and Minnesota to rise up, to do everything in their power to defend our immigrant neighbors, to continue to observe the illegal actions by ICE, to blow your whistle when you see immigration enforcement in your neighborhood, to get trained on rapid response so you can educate your neighbors on what is happening on your block, to provide rides to your immigrant neighbors who need to go to work, who need to get groceries, who need to see their children come back home safely.
I don't like these punk ass bitches.
To help your immigrant neighbors move their cars during snow emergencies.
Fake crying. Get your bitch ass out of here.
Is many of our immigrant neighbors being picked up simply by moving their cars. To help your neighbors take out the trash, because there are many reports of neighbors being kidnapped while they are taking their trash out. to support our immigrant-owned businesses, to drop off groceries to our children, mothers, fathers, our community members that are starving, and to let know that ICE is not welcome in this city and in this state. And lastly, we're here to demand justice for Renee Good.
My name is Aisha Gomez. I serve as the state representative for District 62A, the south side of Minneapolis, where our beloved community member was murdered this week. I'm so grateful to Councilmember Chavez for explaining this moment to us and calling on us as a community into this struggle that our neighbors are facing. With respect to the investigation into this shooting, there's really only one question in front of us. Are we going to design a process that's legitimate or not? In 2020, the state legislature created the Force Investigations Unit after the murder of George Floyd, which happened right around the corner, 7 or 8 blocks away from where Renee Good was murdered. This unit was established after a long process of looking into what are the best practices when there is an officer-involved shooting. We learned a lot about this in 2020 in Minneapolis, unfortunately. One of the things that we learned is that if you actually are interested in public safety, if you actually are interested in the legitimacy of a law enforcement force in your community, then you must be invested in accountability, in transparency, and in fair investigations when bad things happen. That's right. And so that's the question in front of us. Do we want a legitimate investigation that pulls in the professionals of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension who are trained to do this, who have done this over and over, who have the kind of local connections and local legitimacy that the FBI could just never have because they don't have that kind of presence here? Or are we going to have a discredited farce of an investigation? And so as a group of elected representatives who are deeply invested in the safety of our community, and thus in the legitimacy of these processes, we call on the FBI to share the evidence with the Force Investigations Unit at the BCA and have this be a legitimate and trusted investigation. Thank you.
I'm Hennepin County Commissioner Irene Fernando, but you can call me Commish. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a very, very proud child of immigrants. I'm the youngest woman to ever serve on the Hennepin County Board. I'm the first Filipino American elected in the state, and I'm Hennepin's first board chair of color in our 174-year history. My heart is grieving for Renee and her family. This is an unimaginable and preventable loss. I honor Renee's humanity and life, and I acknowledge the deep pain felt by her loved ones and neighbors. The taxpayer-funded actions and harm we are experiencing right now are inhumane, unlawful, and unconstitutional. United States due process means that justice is pursued through legal action, credible investigation.
Is private student loan debt wrecking your life? You really need to talk to Y-Refi. Y-Refi.
And courts, not through guns, murder, and violence on our streets. There's jarring footage that show ICE agents stage at elementary school bus stops and going door to door. Often agents are unwilling to provide a badge number, a warrant, or any legal documentation. This is a terrifying reality for Minnesotans since we are still grieving Speaker Hortman's assassination due to the impersonation of a police officer at her doorstep. Our community has experienced a national spotlight with law enforcement shootings, which required significant change and reform on how such cases are examined, investigated, and communicated to the public. It is critical for our communities to have some sense of trust in the process in order to meet the standards set by Minnesota law and resident expectations. This is why we're calling on the federal government to cooperate with a joint or independent investigation conducted by the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. The thought is that they would do this together, but if for some reason that is not possible, please allow shared evidence for a parallel investigation. The Minnesota BCA is the only nonpartisan state agency equipped to investigate robustly and effectively, in part due to their establishment of the Force Investigations Unit. They have the expertise, they are equipped, and they are ready to pursue justice on behalf of Minnesotans. Alongside their own investigation, the BCA, alongside the federal investigation, the BCA can and should conduct this parallel process, which means full access to the information, evidence, and case file. Because in Minnesota, we expect that investigations are completed by
They want us to trust the BCA, who has lied to the Minnesota community numerous times. Drew Evans and his BCA has lied to the people time and time again. And we want them to handle it. These people, that's what I'm saying. It's not really about reform. It's all about show. It's not about changing shit. It's all about what we can show. And it has nothing to do about no fucking truth. That's why nothing's ever changed. That's why we're still dealing with this in 2026. Because all the things that have killed people, our neighbors, our constituents in the streets, we're not trying to change. We talk about it, but we don't change it. So I really, really don't get it. I really don't get it. How are y'all? So y'all didn't trust the police when they killed George Floyd. Amir Locke, Delahaye, Winston Smith, Dante Wright. Look how many names I can go off just in Minnesota alone, in Minneapolis, in Hennepin County. Like, when are we actually going to make a difference? Not just talk about it, but be about it. That's why Minnesota is so screwed. So screwed.
BCA to then get reviewed by the county attorney to determine if the use of force was appropriate or not. We have a process here to review force. We have full trust in this process and in the county attorney to do the objective review needed based on the facts and Minnesota law. The idea that our federal government would not fully cooperate with the BCA in an investigation creates even more mistrust among our community members, because we know federal investigations are very rarely released to the public.
There's a lot of commercials and ads and shit on YouTube now. It's all about money.
Our justice system, and we are here together to ask for and request full cooperation by the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office to provide full access to the BCA so they can conduct a thorough, complete, and independent investigation to determine if the use of force was justified or requires additional accountability. Last and certainly not least, just directly to residents, our neighbors, our friends, our family members, our coworkers, our kids. I am very, very proud of our unrelenting courage, compassionate caregiving, and a fierce resilience towards justice. It feels very hopeful and very fearful, but together we can and must resist the urge to give in to the numbness that comes from this type of attention. because numbing our pain might also numb our shared humanity. And it is only through the collective wisdom in our bodies and ancestral storylines that we will get through to the other side of this. Together, we come from powerful, loving, and resourceful stories. Our cultures and ancestors have found ways to construct creativity from pain, joy from fear, and hope from oppression, and we will do so again today. Ultimately, I do believe that our shared humanity and love for one another will prevail.
Mary
but that
Morter
only
and Keith
occurs when we
Ellison are
all
having a
rise
press conference.
with
I
one
want to
another.
switch to that.
Discussing ways to ensure a thorough and transparent investigation, how that can occur and be shared with our office. On Wednesday, our immediate focus was ensuring that an agreement could be reached for a joint investigation with.
Now, this was the lady who
and the
dismissed,
FBI.
who dropped the
To be
charges
clear, and I want to be very clear
for the
about
killing of
this,
Ricky
is
Cobb.
not because we have concerns
Come on
about
now,
the
people.
FBI
Y'all are fucking
investigation.
stupid.
Our efforts in
This shit
advocating for
crazy.
a joint investigation is not an attack on the FBI. We have had a strong working relationship with the local FBI field office throughout my administration. Based on a previous experience with FBI processes, we are concerned that the evidence obtained in an investigation that has only been conducted at the federal level will not be shared with our office for review. In the past, the FBI has invited us to see a high-level overview of their investigation, but we were prohibited from seeing the entire investigation or talking about what we saw in that PowerPoint publicly. While I respect the FBI's process, our community's expectations are much different in terms of transparency. This community expects to understand what the evidence is and the justification for any decision that might be made. To that end, I cannot overstate the importance of a local investigation, or at least access to the federal investigation by the BCA. Without it, we will not have the ability to be transparent with our community about the results of the expectation, or, as I said, any decision that might come of the review. And let me be clear, we have no preconceived opinion on what the evidence will show. Making a charging or decline decision in an officer-involved case requires us to evaluate the evidence in the context of complicated legal issues. For that reason, we cannot reach a conclusion about any outcome here. Our goal must be to ensure that a thorough investigation is completed at the local level so that our community can have transparency. We do not yet know if there will be sufficient evidence without the FBI case file to even make a charging decision. The FBI currently has, for example, Ms. Good's car scene and witness interviews. The FBI has taken the car, and so any forensic analysis that comes from that would not be available to us unless they were sharing that. To be clear, when a state investigation happens by the BCA or any local agency, they submit the case to our office for evaluation of potential charges. The BCA does not make recommendations about what we should be doing. They simply submit the entire case file to us, and our legal professionals take a look at it and decide what the appropriate action is. That is the normal process that we've had here since about 2020. Law enforcement investigates, our office reviews to determine if there is enough evidence to even make a decision. And if there is evidence to review, we have jurisdiction to make that decision. So let me be clear here. We do have jurisdiction to make this decision that happened in this case where her life was taken in Hennepin County. It does not matter that it was a federal law enforcement agent. To be sure, there are complex legal issues involved when a federal law enforcement officer is involved. But the law is clear. We do have jurisdiction to make this decision.
I'm going to stop for a minute, right? Because for the last 2 days, all I've heard is what happened in Minneapolis. I want to know why I haven't heard anything about Keith Porter. Today was the first day, just not even 10 minutes ago, was the first time that I ever seen anything about Keith Porter. Why is that? Is it because he's a black man? Or is it because he's not a legal observer? or and a white woman. Let's be honest. Why isn't nobody talking about Keith Porter? Like I don't understand that shit.
Developing tonight, we're hearing from the family of a man who authorities say was firing gunshots in celebration of the new year when he was shot and killed by an off-duty ICE agent. Fox 11's Rachel Aragon joining us live from Universal City, where the family's attorney is calling for an investigation. Rachel?
Yeah, a thorough investigation, according to the attorney and the family. Of course, that means to them, police interview everyone in the area that night on New Year's Eve to see if, in fact, Keith Porter shot towards that off-duty officer. But according to the family attorney I talked to earlier today, he says as of now, he sees no evidence that Porter himself was a threat that night.
It's hard. Oh my God, he just loves so deeply.
Just days into the new year, the mother of 43-year-old Keith Porter is still filled with grief and disbelief. According to law enforcement, her son Keith fired celebratory gunshots into the air with an AR-15 style rifle outside his apartment complex on New Year's Eve.
Armed with an AR-15 rifle, possibly suffering from a gunshot wound.
An LAPD report states the off-duty federal officer confronted Porter, identified himself as law enforcement, and claims Porter fired toward him, prompted the officer to return fire.
What should have been a simple arrest and possible a citation has turned into a death sentence.
The family's attorney says this all could have been avoided.
But instead of staying in his apartment for a trained law enforcement officer from LAPD to respond, he made the premeditated and calculated decision to grab a firearm.
Fox 11 reached out to the Department of Homeland Security. In a statement, the department said the off-duty ICE officer bravely responded to an active shooter situation at his apartment complex. In order to protect his life and that of others, he was forced to defensively use his weapon. DHS goes on to say their officer immediately called police.
According to his version, Keith shot 3 shots towards him. We have questions on if there was any shell casing recovered from Keith's weapon that would indicate he in fact fired the weapon 3 times.
Keith's family and their attorneys say they have yet to find a witness to corroborate that the father of 2 fired towards the off-duty officer. Now, DHS tells me they're referring any further questions to LAPD, which is currently investigating. We reached out to LAPD earlier today to see if they have yet to identify that off-duty ICE agent. They responded saying as of right now, they have nothing further to share.
Culeros, get the fuck out of town. Get the fuck out of town. Get the fuck out of town. ICE is here!
and fighting for our shared humanity without apology. I and we remain in this fight with you,
Not talking.
speaking our
God damn it.
truths and leading towards accountability and justice. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I am State Senator Zaida Mohammed. I think I speak on all of my colleagues, especially colleagues in the Senate, when I say we are here on behalf of Renee Nicole Good, a beloved wife, mom, daughter, and neighbor who was needlessly and brutally taken from us in Minneapolis streets on Wednesday morning. That night, thousands of us gathered at the site to grieve the loss and to mourn Renee and to rally for justice. Everything I have learned about Renee, about her humanity and compassion, tells me she would have been there with us, speaking truth to power and turning pain into poetry. This federal government has given us too many reasons to not trust them to do the right thing. There are thousands of agents were sent here under a false pretense in the minutes after an agent, and the minutes after an agent's shot, they refused to render aid. And their leaders have used every opportunity since this tragedy to lie about the facts, to lie about Renee, and to blame her for her own murder. There were many witnesses to Renee's murder, and the horrific videos we have seen make us all witnesses. This was a crime in broad daylight, and the attempt to cover it up is another. Renee is owed the same rights we promised to every American: due process, respect, and truth. We know what we saw, and everything short of a full and an honest investigation is an insult to her memory. Everything she stood for, and everything we stand for as Americans. At 10 o'clock today, we will honor the life and legacy of Renee Nicole Good with a moment of silence. Every moment before that and every moment after that, we will honor Renee by remembering our neighbor and calling for justice at the top of our lungs. And with that, we will take questions.
Did you lose over $75,000 sports betting on DraftKings or FanDuel? We may be able to help you get significant compensation. Under consumer protection laws, these sportsbook apps are reportedly accused of contributing to addiction and serious.
It's been a hell of a day, and I will. So from this point on, from like till 5 o'clock, if something really cracks off, I'll go live. But otherwise than that, I'll probably be done till like Monday. And I want people to realize that there's a lot going on. And it doesn't matter if it's in Rochester, doesn't matter if it's in St. Paul, Minneapolis. It truly does not matter. They're everywhere. And we have to treat it like a threat. We have to treat it like the threat it is. And I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on this. And at the end of the day, I've had to become okay with that. And I am okay with it, that people aren't going to agree with me when it comes to ICE. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to protect them or anything like that. I sure ain't going to stand in front of them. But let them do their jobs. This is why we have tragedies. This is why I'm going to show you. This is why I believe this will happen again, because it happened yesterday. 2 were shot in Portland. They've already, Los Angeles killed somebody. Minneapolis killed somebody. So how do, like, all right, it's going to happen again. This is going to happen again. Somebody is going to get killed. They're going to get shot.
I live here. Okay, don't block the streets. I'm not. Move your car. Don't block the road.
So we have to, like, if people do stupid behavior, they can't expect a stupid response, because you're putting, here's the thing of it is, people, the ICE agents are they're in cars, blah, 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 whatever, right? Let them do their fucking jobs. Y'all was letting them do it when they go into black neighborhoods and use SWAT teams and task force, all kind of shit. Y'all don't be protecting black people when it comes to that shit. So why do y'all care now? Why? So with that being said, I'm going to get up out of here. I will see y'all either some cracks off or it doesn't, I'll be back. With that being said, here goes Don Tripp, No Place Like Home.
Hey, Stevie.
I feel at home between your legs. I'm right at home between your legs. I'm right at home between you. No place like it, feel like I belong there. I go in and I feel right at home between your legs. I feel at home.
Yeah, I had to have it when I laid my eyes on you. Let's make a child or two. Time to go get me some brand new snorkeling gear. I'm about to dive in you. That's what I'm on. Girl, we've been fucking for years. I still ain't left you alone. I know you got all the tools to pleasure yourself. I just wanna help you along. Bad Boy Records, plan on oiling you down. Baby, I'm taking it there. I love the way you say hello to me by waving your legs in the air. Open it up, darling, I'm drunk in love. I don't plan on sobering up. You sent me pictures while I was out handling business. So baby, I owe you a nut. Give you that dope. I call it that blue magic, a brand you know you can trust. You and your feelings as soon as I'm gone for a minute. That's how I know you in love. Crave for you. Feel like I was made for you. Making my way to you. Started with us and a couple of fucks. Now hold